You quit your job on a Tuesday. Not because you hated it, not because you had millions in the bank, and not because you suddenly discovered some secret way to get rich. You quit because, for the first time in your life, you realized something uncomfortable. You didn't actually need the job to survive anymore. Your resignation letter is still open on your laptop. The cursor blinks at the bottom of the screen. You read it one more time. Then you press send. That's it. No dramatic music, no applause, no one standing outside your office waiting to congratulate you. Just a small notification in the corner of your screen. Message sent. You lean back in your chair. For a few seconds, you feel nothing. Then you look at the clock. 4:17 p.m. And suddenly, you have nowhere to be. For years, your entire life has been organized around this hour. Wake up, commute, work, lunch, meetings, work again, commute home, dinner, scroll through your phone, sleep, repeat. Tomorrow was always waiting for you. Monday was always coming. The next paycheck was always somewhere in the distance. And now, there is no Monday. At least, not the Monday you knew. You close the laptop. You stand up. And you realize you have absolutely no idea what to do next. The first morning after escaping the rat race feels strange. You wake up at 7:03. Your body expects the alarm. It doesn't come. You reach for your phone anyway. No work emails, no calendar reminders, no message from your manager asking if you can jump on a quick call. Just silence. You lie there for another 10 minutes, then 20. Eventually, you get up. You make coffee, and for the first time in years, you don't drink it while checking your inbox. You sit by the window. The city is moving outside. Cars are passing. People are rushing toward offices. A man in a suit is walking quickly across the street with a coffee in one hand and his phone in the other. You recognize the expression on his face. You used to have it. That constant feeling that you're already late for something. You watch him disappear around the corner, and something inside you feels lighter. But then another feeling appears, something you weren't expecting. Guilt. You spent years believing that a productive person should always be doing something. Now you're sitting down at 9 in the morning, drinking coffee, and nobody's paying you for it. The first week is beautiful. You sleep properly. You cook breakfast. You go for walks. You finally finish the book that's been sitting beside your bed for 8 months. You call your mother on a Wednesday afternoon just because you can. You go to the grocery store when it's empty. You notice things you stopped noticing years ago. The sunlight coming through your kitchen window. The sound of rain against the glass. How long it takes to make a proper meal. How quiet your neighborhood actually is. For the first time, your life doesn't feel like something you're trying to squeeze between obligations. You have time, real time, and you thought that was what freedom would feel like. Until the second week. That's when the questions begin. What are you doing tomorrow? What are you working toward? What happens next? You don't have a boss anymore, but you still have the voice of one inside your head. It asks whether you're being productive, whether you're wasting your time, whether you're falling behind. You escaped the office, but somehow the office followed you home. 3 months later, your life looks completely different. You wake up without an alarm. You exercise in the morning. You cook most of your meals. You spend afternoons learning things you actually care about. You start a small business idea you've been thinking about for years. Not because you need the money, because you want to see if you can build something. And that's when you discover the first real secret about escaping the rat race. Freedom isn't the absence of work. It's the absence of forced work. There's a difference. When you worked 8 hours because someone else required it, Monday felt heavy. Now you can spend 6 hours working on something difficult and somehow feel better afterward because you chose it. That's the part nobody explains. Money doesn't only buy things. Sometimes money buys the right to choose what deserves your time. But freedom also reveals something else. Your relationships. Before, you always had an excuse. I'm busy. I have work tomorrow. Maybe next weekend. You weren't necessarily avoiding people. You were exhausted. There's a difference. Now your friends start noticing. You actually answer your phone. You show up. You stay longer. One Friday evening, an old friend calls. Are you free tonight? You almost laugh. You look around your apartment. There's nowhere you need to be. Yeah, you say. I'm free. There's a pause. Seriously? You smile. Seriously. You meet at a small restaurant downtown. Halfway through dinner, your friend looks at you. You seem different. You ask what they mean. I don't know. They take a sip of their drink. You just seem
here. You don't know how to explain it, but you understand exactly what they mean. For years, your body was wherever you were. Your mind was always somewhere else. At work, tomorrow, next month, next promotion, next paycheck. Now, you're actually sitting at the table, and you're listening.
But escaping the rat race doesn't mean every problem disappears. Some become more visible. You begin thinking about purpose, and purpose is harder to calculate than money. When you had a job, your progress was obvious. Your salary increased, your title changed, your responsibilities grew. There were performance reviews, targets, numbers, a ladder. Now, nobody is keeping score. You can spend 3 months building something and make nothing. You can spend an entire afternoon reading and have nothing to show for it. You can wake up on Monday morning and realize you don't know what you're supposed to accomplish. At first, that scares you. Then you understand. You were never only addicted to money. You were addicted to measurement. You needed someone to tell you whether you were winning. Now, you have to decide for yourself. 6 months after leaving your job, something unexpected happens. You get an email. It's from your old company. They're hiring. The salary is higher than what you used to make, much higher. You stare at the number. For a moment, you imagine it. The bigger apartment, the new car, the vacations, the feeling of being important again. You open the job description. The responsibilities look familiar. The meetings, the deadlines, the late nights, the constant availability. You close the email. Then you reopen it. You calculate the salary. You calculate what you could invest. You calculate what you could afford. And then you ask yourself a different question. Not how much does it pay, but what would it cost me? Your evenings, your mornings, your health, your relationships, your attention, your time. You stare at the screen for another few seconds. Then you delete the email. Not because the job is bad, because it belongs to a life you no longer want. A year passes. Your life becomes quieter, and strangely, better. You still work. You build things. You invest. You make mistakes. Some months are financially boring. Some months are uncomfortable. You don't have unlimited money. You still check your accounts. You still think about expenses. You still have responsibilities. But there's one thing you no longer have. That feeling of being trapped. You know that if something goes wrong, you have options. You have savings. You have investments. You have skills. You have relationships. You have time. And most importantly, you know how little you actually need to be happy. That lesson takes longer to learn than any investment strategy. One morning, you wake up early, 6:12 a.m. The sky outside is still gray. You make coffee. You sit beside the window. Across the street, people are beginning their morning commute. You watch headlights move through the quiet street, and you remember the person you used to be. The person who thought freedom meant retiring with millions. The person who believed happiness would begin after the next promotion, after the next raise, after the next house, after the next milestone. Always after. You smile, because now you understand something you couldn't see back then. The rat race was never just about work. It was about constantly postponing your life. You kept telling yourself that one day, when you had enough money, enough status, enough security, you would finally have time. But time was the one thing you were spending every day, and you couldn't buy it back. So, what does life look like after escaping the rat race? It doesn't necessarily look luxurious. There might not be a mansion. There might not be a supercar. There might not even be a dramatic moment where you realize you've made it. Sometimes it looks like a quiet Tuesday morning, a cup of coffee, no alarm, no commute, no boss waiting for an explanation. You have work to do, but you chose it. You have bills, but they don't control every decision. You have ambition, but it doesn't consume you. You still want more, but you no longer need more to feel like you're enough. And perhaps that's the real escape. Not escaping work, not escaping responsibility, not escaping ambition. Escaping the belief that your life has to begin later. Because one morning, you'll look around and realize something. The freedom you spent years chasing was never supposed to be a finish line. It was supposed to give you your life back.
And tomorrow morning, when the city starts moving again, you'll still have somewhere to go. But this time, you'll be the one deciding where.